Hi, my name is Elisa Minkin. I am a general pediatrician and the co-chair of the JOMA, Jewish Orthodox Women's Medical Association Preventive Health Committee, and I'm here tonight with Aliza Beer. Aliza Beer is a registered dietitian and a certified dietitian nutritionist with an advanced degrees in nutrition. Aliza has a private practice in Cedarhurst, but has many clients throughout the world whom she works with via phone. And I'll give you that phone number several times. It's really cool. Aliza, and thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's really cool that you do this by phone too, and it doesn't like you don't have to go in person. And that phone number is 516-984-3333. That's four threes. Aliza treats children, adolescents, and adults for a variety of issues, including but not limited to weight loss, diabetes, gestational diabetes, high cholesterol, celiac disease, food allergies, and various gastrointestinal issues, including Crohn's and irritable bowel syndrome. Aliza specializes in weight loss and has developed an innovative program that is personalized to each client in order to maximize weight loss while maintaining a balanced and sustainable diet. Aliza has a website, alizabeer.com, alizabeer.com. And again, the phone number 516-984-3333. And you can also, actually, a very good way is to reach her by email, alizabeer@gmail.com. So again, thanks so much for doing this with me. And I
My
want to
pleasure.
and I want to start, thank you. And I want to start with very basic questions, which is what kind of training did you get to become a nutritionist? What's the difference in degrees nutritionists have, and what does that mean?
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. And that is a great question, Elisa. So actually, there is no legal definition for nutritionist. Anyone could call themselves a nutritionist. You're a barber, you're a gardener, anyone who wants to could just say that they're a nutritionist, and there's no legal definition. I am a registered dietitian, that there are requirements to be a registered dietitian, including having a BA and taking a whole slew of courses. It's usually most of the sciences and nutrition and physical education classes, plus an internship that's divided. It's usually about 9 months to a year. It's divided into clinical and food service and community. And then the RD exam, which would be similar to, let's say, someone taking a CPA exam. And then when all of those requirements are met and the exam passed, then that person is a registered dietitian. In addition to that, I do have a master's degree in nutrition. You don't have to have that
Mm-hmm.
to be a registered dietitian, but I, continued on with my education, and that's really the difference. So if you're seeking nutrition advice, you want to go to a registered dietitian. No hospital or nursing home or school or any kind of facility will hire anyone that's not a registered dietitian.
Right. And I, as a general pediatrician, I do make a lot of referrals to nutritionists, and I choose the ones with the RD degree for that reason, for that background.
Correct.
I will also say that I think that a lot of people don't have realistic expectations of primary care providers today.
Hmm.
We're busy, our time is short, and this is complicated stuff. I used to start with, oh, I would talk, give them these little tips, and it
Hmm.
was really, almost useless. I mean, sometimes, a few tips can be helpful, but it really can take a lot of work and also to tailor it to the individual person and their family,
Right. So I
I believe.
customize, everyone has different needs, different health issues on different medications, and, different likes and dislikes and lifestyle. So it really has to be customized for each person. There's no one size fits all.
Right. And how many sessions do they usually come for? I mean, I presume that that would vary.
Right. It varies on the issue. If it's weight loss, it really also, again, varies. I have people that need to lose 10 pounds. I have someone, that might need to lose 100 pounds. So,
Mm,
usually with weight loss, I encourage them to come once a week, at least for the first 4 6 weeks,
mhm.
until they kind of got their groove and are comfortable and doing well in the program. And then we could, go to every other week if they don't need me as a policeman, all the time. But it's nice to have that accountability when
Mhm.
someone's in a weight loss program. The accountability is key. If someone is coming for, some kind of GI issue that's resolved, quickly, they may not need more than a couple of sessions. It really varies.
And also, who should see a nutritionist and why?
Anyone for really any reason, whether it's weight loss or possibly weight gain. Um, someone who is just looking to eat a little bit healthier,
Mhm.
someone who's having issues. PCOS is also a big thing now. I see a lot of young girls with the PCOS issues, or any of the GI
Really?
issues that you mentioned. PCOS is polycystic ovarian
Mhm.
syndrome.
And
So,
how is that related to diet?
so how does that? Because they're usually insulin resistant, and they have trouble
Um,
metabolizing the carbs and sugar. So I have to almost treat them like a diabetic. Many of them are on metformin because a lot of them do have higher blood sugars, and any of the GI issues like IBS or Crohn's or celiac, which has exploded the population of the celiac, um, kids and adults alike. And for any reason, there's no reason why not to see a nutritionist if you have any kind of food or diet or GI issue, or diabetic also,
right.
many diabetics.
Do you work with physicians at all? Do they ever call
So
you?
yes,
And
yes, physicians refer all the time, and I have many physicians as clients.
interesting.
Many. Yeah.
That's a high recommendation.
Yes, it is. Yes. And I've had a lot of gestational diabetics as well. And, sometimes when they're OBGYN, see how well they do, they come to me themselves. So,
Interesting.
yeah, so it's nice. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to ask you my $100 million question. Why is it so hard not just to lose weight, but to keep it off?
Okay, so that is the $100 million question. I believe it's because people are treating the diet
Hmm.
as a temporary situation, when it really needs to be made a way of life. Because any diet's going to work if you stick to it, but once you revert back to your bad old habits, you're going to gain back the weight. It's very simple. So if you don't internalize and change your lifestyle and your mindset, you're just going to regain the weight. So you've got to make it a way of life.
Hmm.
That's the main reason why people gain back the weight.
And right, and I actually asked to interview you because I've noticed that you are very balanced. Your approach is very balanced. It's very realistic. But I do see all of these diets, these fad diets, and I really would like to know your opinion on some of the popular fad diets.
Right. Okay. So that, a fad diet is just that. It's a fad, and it will get you to your goal. If you follow the keto, or if you follow, let's say, intermittent fasting, which I've utilized as well
Hmm.
with some of my clients that kind of hit a wall or a plateau. Uh, it will get you to where you need to be, but you cannot live like that. It's not sustainable. So I want someone, my program, I try to make it as realistic as possible, that you should be able to eat in a restaurant, eat at a wedding, manage, Shabbos, which we'll discuss later on. That's a whole nother topic. That it should be realistic, that you shouldn't feel deprived, and you should feel normal.
Hmm.
So you have to make it a way of life, and that's why the fad diets are a quick fix. But again, people usually gain back the weight. Sometimes they're not so healthy. Sometimes they're too low in calories or too low in carbs, and then there are issues, health issues. Sometimes they if you lose a lot of weight quickly, it could cause gallstones. Some people have lost their gallbladders. Then after that, sometimes people have a hard time metabolizing the carbs. If, let's say, they're on a very low carb diet, like on the keto, they're going to gain back the weight quickly if they start eating carbs again. The body is no longer accustomed to metabolizing
Hmm.
these carbs. That's just an example. Uh, yeah, so that's my take on the fad diets. You really just you want to try to do something that you can live on.
And I would love if you could just talk for just a minute about the concept of yo-yo dieting.
Oh, okay, that is a good concept. Every time somebody yo-yos, it gets harder to lose the weight. Um, and it's not healthy for your body and your organs to yo-yo like that. I mean, to fluctuate several pounds, but not to. There are people that have come to me that have told me they have gained and lost 100 pounds several times over
Right.
their lifetime, which is really hard on the body. And every time they're going to do it, the body gets, is trying to fight it, and gets a little smarter, and it's not going to be as accommodating, and they're not going to lose as well every single time they do that.
Right, right.
Besides the stress
What are
that,
some, I'm sorry?
besides the stress that you're putting on the organs
Right,
with the yo-yo.
right. Right. It can make it harder to lose weight. Not only are
Right.
you back to the same place, you're actually behind where you were. So it's
Mhm.
so important to have a diet that even if you're doing, like you said, you talked about intermittent fasting or keto, it's possible to do that diet under proper supervision for a short period of time, but then you would need help with some kind of transitional diet that you could sustain. So
Right,
I definitely have
100%. Like,
seen.
you need to
Mhm.
transition from that. If sometimes, let's say, we need to utilize the keto or intermittent fasting or something else, um, to get you to where, a little bit further, or it's important to get you down more in a shorter period of time. But then you have to transition into a healthy, kind of clean lifestyle, not to just revert back to the way you had been eating previously before the fad diet.
Right, right. You could actually utilize these fad diets
Could
under supervision
utilize.
to lose, and
Yes.
some people might actually
Right.
medically need to lose
Right. I
more
mean,
weight.
I've had people ask me about juicing as well.
Hmm.
If somebody is, let's say, making a simcha and has got to get themselves into that dress, then I say,
Hmm.
then fine, then juice for 3 days. You'll lose, 6 pounds. You'll get into the dress. As soon as you eat, you're going to gain back the weight. But if you need that band-aid, that emergency, then, do it. But then you have to understand that as soon as you eat, you're going to gain back the weight, unless you really use that as a kind of a jumping off, like, to get you into a healthier way of life. But you can't live like that.
Right, and it's another reason why you should be doing this kind of dieting under supervision. Like I did have a patient who
Right.
went on keto diet on his own and lost all this weight and had no intention, he didn't know where to go from there because he did it all on his own.
Right.
And that's not a sustainable diet, at least for the vast majority of people, and we do not have evidence that it's safe, at least for the long term. So that
Right.
was a
I
concern.
have many patients that have come to me post, you know, stomach bypass or the band, you
Hmm.
know, and very often, again, if they don't, they'll lose a lot of weight, but if they don't change their lifestyle, very often they gain back quite a bit of the weight.
Right, and you're back
So
to the yo-yo.
yeah, so I've had a lot of them come to me to kind of learn to eat healthier. They're
Hmm.
losing a lot of weight because they're hardly eating afterwards, and they're vomiting a lot. So that's why they're losing so much weight, because they're actually consuming very little.
Hmm.
But they've got to learn how to eat healthy, and also learn how to feed themselves, and able to keep the food down properly.
Right, because even after gastric bypass surgeries, people do often regain weight.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
the same concept all over again. There's the quick fix and the slow fix.
Right. So slow and steady wins the race, as I say.
Exactly. Exactly. Just what is juicing? I'm sorry, but I don't even know what juicing is.
That they're really buying. I couldn't do it even for one day. They're buying, or they're taking vegetables. It's mostly vegetables, some fruit, and just drinking the juice and not eating any food.
Hmm.
Besides that, it's not, healthy, and there's just, so they can't sustain that, obviously.
Oh,
And you're not getting in all the nutrients that your body needs. Yeah, that's what it is essentially.
yeah, that cannot possibly be sustainable. I'm just thinking that must be high in sugar. I mean, there's a
Yeah, it's high
concept
in
of
sugar.
juice
That's
is,
kind of what they're living on, just that sugar. I mean, and nothing else, like
I
no
guess,
protein.
right, I guess they're losing weight not because it's relatively high in
Because
sugar, but because it's
it's
low
a
in
very
calories.
restrictive calories, exactly.
Restrictive calories. You restrict your calories, you will lose weight. The
Absolutely.
question is, how do you keep it off? And you have to be realistic for that. So, speaking of realistic, I would love to talk about some common diet sabotages and how we can avoid them, because you can start with the best of intentions
Right.
and fall badly. So,
Absolutely. Okay. So, one of my big mottos is to never leave the house not prepared for the day.
mhm,
Because when someone is not prepared, and if they don't have access to food, let's say during the day, and if they don't bring their food, then what's easy and accessible? Bagels and pretzels and protein bars that are full of sugar, that most of them are like candy bars. So that's why you always want to be prepared, either with the food or with a really good plan of where you could pick up your food.
mhm,
That's important. Um, then there are people that are also skipping meals. They want to save they're going out for dinner, so they're not going to eat breakfast or lunch because they're going to go out for dinner. They're going to save all their calories for later on. But
what's wrong with that?
that's what's wrong with that, is that if you're not going to eat all day long, your body's got to keep you alive, whether you
Mhm,
feed it or you don't. It has its jobs to do. If you don't feed it for so many hours, it's going to slow itself down and cut corners to try to be, more cost efficient here, because you're not giving it any energy. And then when you finally give yourself this big meal. You're going to give a slow metabolism. Now, this big meal, your body doesn't need so many calories in one sitting. It's going to take whatever it needs for the moment, and the rest, it's going to kind of not just store as fat, but kind of hoard it. You made it a little bit nervous that you didn't eat properly all day long. So it's going to hoard this fat just in case you can't feed it again for another 24 hours. It's called starvation mode.
So wait, I'm a little confused. So people do intermittent fasting. We talked about that before as a way
Right,
that
so
people.
that's not going, a whole day. Intermittent fasting basically is that you can eat for an 8-hour window, and
Mhm,
it's having your body fast for 16 hours. There is a lot of research that there is merit for the body to fast for 14 hours, let's say
mhm,
overnight for 14 hours. They say it does help the body kind of rejuvenate itself, gives itself time to address other issues and not be busy with digestion, and be able to work and do other things and as well. So that's not, intermittent fasting. You're not fasting all day. You can eat for 8 hours. What it's doing essentially is shutting down your day. Instead of people that are grazing and nibbling and
mhm,
snacking like for 20 hours of the day, it's shutting it down to an 8-hour period. You end up eating less.
mhm.
And most people are eating, let's say, either from 10 to 6 or 11 to 7, because that's the most realistic way to manage it. So you're not eating at night. And if you're not eating at night, that's a big deal, because that's where most people get into trouble.
Mhm, yeah, please tell me more about that. That's my problem. Go
So the
for
night
it.
eating, that's where most of us get into trouble, is the night
Mhm,
and Shabbos. And whatever we're eating at night, if you ate properly, first of all, if you ate properly all day long, you should not be hungry. If you slept properly, which we'll talk about sleep, and you
mhm,
ate properly all day, you shouldn't be hungry at night. It's not hunger that's driving you to snack. It's boredom
mhm,
and nudginess and stress and emotional eating and everything else but hunger that's really
mhm.
driving you. And then whatever we are eating at night, your body's not really utilizing it. It's slowing itself down over the course of the day. It's really kind of hoarding whatever you're eating at night. It's just sticking to you, not burning it off. You're typically not as active.
Right.
So it's just kind of sitting on you. So the less you eat at night, the better off everyone is. And that's where people really get into trouble. So I advise people just get out of the kitchen at night,
Mhm,
or nothing good can come out of being in the kitchen at night. Sometimes you'll just eat something because you see it, because they've done studies. When cookies are in a clear cookie jar on the counter, your people will eat more of them than if
mhm.
they were in an opaque cookie jar, because when you see it, it's a visual thing. When you see it, you feel like you have to eat it.
Right.
It's not hunger, it's something else. But if they're put away in a pantry, then you won't eat as much. So it's, get out of the kitchen, brush and floss your teeth after dinner, and that'll be like it'll inhibit you or be a deterrent to eating any more after dinner. Those are, some of my common tips for people to curb that night snacking.
Right. But even more, I do want to say that when you're sleep deprived, that adds a whole other layer. And if you want to talk about that, or you want me to just say
Right, no,
something?
no, you could talk about it.
Right. So from the medical perspective, and I think this is something that we've learned relatively recently. I unfortunately learned it as a human being.
Right.
It's my big problem. I'm a night person and I stay up too late. Even if I don't eat that much at night, unfortunately, it can lead to weight gain, because what happens is it's actually the hormones that regulate your appetite
Hmm.
change in regard to how much sleep you have. That there's a hormone called leptin,
Hmm.
and a hormone and I'm not sure how it's pronounced, ghrelin or something like that, GHRELIN, and actually the leptin will go down if you have not enough sleep. And that's one that actually lowers your appetite and lowers your hunger and
Hmm.
increases how much energy you use. And the unpronounceable ghrelin thing, I think that's how you pronounce it, actually goes up with little sleep and increases your hunger. So you
Right.
are actually priming yourself to eat more that night and the next day
Right.
when you're not
Right.
sleeping enough. So good luck to all of us. We really
Right,
have to try to
right.
get
So
more
that,
sleep.
I mean, the recommended to get at least 7 hours of sleep. But yes, I'm just as guilty as you
Right.
with the sleep department. So, but it definitely you will be hungrier. Also, I feel that people feel weaker and are lacking energy when they're
Right.
sleep deprived. So where else are you going to get energy from when you're up and you cannot take a nap? You're going to get it from your food. It'll give you, something sugary will give you like a burst of energy, just for temporarily, of course, and then you crash.
Right. As you're
But
cleaning your kitchen, you should have left hours ago.
exactly.
Right. Um, Also, I wanted to talk about Shabbos and the Chagim.
Right. Okay, so Shabbos is here every week, thank God, but we have to learn how to navigate through Shabbos. And Shabbos is never going to look like a Monday or Tuesday. It's just not. And we have to just embrace it and learn how to get through it and manage it.
Mhm.
I have had some big guys that when they first come to me, they tell me that they're gaining 10 pounds in that 24-hour period of Shabbos. It's from the challah, which, by the way, challah is exactly like cake.
Mhm.
It's from the cholent and the potato kugel and the cake, and it's not a great way to eat. And the portions as well, not just the food that we're eating or the kinds of food we're having on Shabbos, but also the portions, that we feel like we need a 5-course meal at every meal. And then, of course, we're better during the week, and then we usually lose the Shabbos weight gain. Most people, this is how they maintain. They're gaining some a few pounds over Shabbos, losing it during the week by Thursday, Friday, gaining it back. It's okay to do this if you're maintaining, and it's all right if the fluctuation is only a few pounds. It's not healthy if it's 10 pounds. That's almost like a yo-yo. That's a little bit
Right.
too wide of a fluctuation. It's not good for the body, or the whole GI system. And basically, you want to try to manage the Shabbos meals with moderation. Like, you want to be able to enjoy Shabbos and to enjoy, let's say, the potato kugel or the cholent or whatever it is, but in very small portions.
Mhm.
And that's how, you would try to keep it and minimize the weight gain to just, let's say, a couple of pounds if you're manage the portions. And a good tip that I recommend is to make it a one plate meal.
Mhm.
So therefore, you should be able to, you envision your dinner plate, you should be able to put all of your food onto one plate. If you cannot fit all of your food onto one plate, that means you're taking too much food.
And that
So,
means not coming back for that second plate.
right, don't come back unless you're hungry. You only go back for seconds if there's hunger, not because it's there in front of you. And that's another thing. We go out, Shabbos meals, you go out, you're a guest by other people's homes. And there are almost always good choices. There's usually some kind of chicken, and it's usually not just something that's breaded and fried like
Mhm.
schnitzel and cholent. Usually there are some other options, some other protein options, some kind of a vegetable, some kind of a salad. I'm not saying that the salad is perfect. I know that
Right.
we don't know what kind of dressing and
Dressing.
what's
Right.
exactly in the salad. You're still better off with salad than with
Mhm.
kugel, honestly. But you don't need to eat everything on the table. That's A. Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to eat it. And B, pick what you want the most. We have to always make choices in life. So, choose what you really want to treat yourself to and just take a small portion of it.
And you could, by the way, decide if there's nothing really there that's healthy enough. You could decide to have very small amounts and go home and eat a big salad
Yes,
at home,
and I tell people what I do. I never eat at a kiddush. I will never rely on anyone to feed me. So I always have Shabbos lunch prepared and ready at home. Like, I'll go to the kiddush, for whatever
Right.
the simcha,
For
whatever
social, right.
mazel tov, I say, and why do we have to eat at a kiddush? Besides that, you don't realize how much you're eating when you're standing up. That's a whole
Right.
nother story. It's called blindly grazing. It doesn't register in our brain. When you're standing up, you don't realize how much you're consuming. You feel like you had nothing when you could have had 1,000 calories. But besides that, why do you have to enjoy? People say, oh, well, what is there to do? You can enjoy an activity without food being a part of the activity. Like, you can enjoy seeing people that you haven't seen all week, or catching up with this one or that one without food. Doesn't have to be the main part of the activity.
Right. And you could also say is there something here that's really worth it? You know.
If there's something that, oh my, that you really want, then then try it, taste it, have a few bites of it, whatever it is. But you really need to sit and eat your meals. You should not be eating standing up.
Mhm. That
So
definitely
that's
makes sense.
yeah, that's important. But we have to realize that Shabbos and, of course, the Chagim are going to be off, and but it's important to try to do things in moderation. And then as soon as it's over, Sunday morning or the day after a Yontif, you get yourself like right back on. You know, you've gotta, and it's good for you to weigh yourself, of
That's
course.
to say, right. How
I
often?
good. I recommend everyone, has nothing to do with you're on a diet or you're not on a diet. Everyone should weigh themselves once a week,
Hmm.
just to keep track of the scale. I'm not. You don't need to obsess over the number, but if someone is gaining weight or losing weight rapidly, then it has to be addressed. It's just good to see what's happening, and that's the best tool for you to monitor
Hmm.
yourself with, is the scale. It's not 100% accurate. The scale can lie to you sometimes. I always tell people the inches are the inches, and the inches will never lie. The scale will sometimes lie. It'll lie. If you're constipated, it
Hmm.
inflates the number on the scale. If you're on antibiotics, I see it inflates the number. If you're on anti-inflammatories, it'll inflate the number. If you're menstruating, all kinds of things will. If you started exercising
Hmm.
and you're building muscle, muscle weighs more than fat. It will throw. You might see you're gaining on the scale. You started exercising, and here you thought you'd lose weight, and here you see it's going up a little bit, but you see that your clothing is fitting a little bit better. That's because you're losing fat and you're changing to muscle, but the inches up. So don't obsess over the number.
Right.
Just, you have to understand where it's coming from. You're not going to gain 20 pounds of muscle. But I'm
Right.
saying if it's up, a couple of
Okay.
pounds,
It's all muscle.
so muscle.
But it's good to be moderate.
Some people have also bigger and heavier frames than others. They're just
Hmm.
bigger. It's not a myth to be bigger boned. It's true. I see it all the time. So don't obsess over the number. Just monitor where you're going with that number.
On that note of moderation, I'm also thinking about this concept of the healthy at any size movement. I find it so frustrating because there's got to be a middle ground between saying, okay, sweetie, it doesn't matter. Whatever size
Right.
you are, you're just perfect the way you are. And being so obsessed with ideal body types.
Right. Right. So it has to, you need to feel comfortable. I never push a number on anyone when they come to me, let's say for weight loss.
Mm.
I'll ask, what was your lowest in the last 10 years? It's not, if someone is 60 years old, it's not realistic for us to say, oh, I could get you back down to what you were when you were 18. It's not,
Right.
it's a different person. So what was your lowest? What would you like to set as your goal? Sometimes when someone has a lot of weight to lose, we'll set smaller goals. We'll say, let's, lose 20 pounds and see. But there is a range. There's usually a range. There's a textbook number, for people for height and weight. And then there's a range because you have to accommodate for the different size frames. But at some point it's not, but then when someone is over the range, then it's not healthy anymore. So it's not, I think that someone shouldn't be locked into the textbook number, but there's just so much um, of a range that you can allow, and then just at some point it has to be. This is not a healthy weight for you.
Exactly.
We have to discuss it. So yeah, that's it's just you. I wouldn't obsess with the number, but if something is not healthy, then you have to discuss health, and obviously something is going off. Either it's hormonal, or they're not eating properly, or their portions are too big. That could be too. Sometimes people are eating healthy, but just way too much.
Hmm.
I see that as well.
Like, especially if you eat too much, even if it's healthy, there's such a thing as too
Right,
much
right.
healthy
There's too
food.
much. There's sometimes, too much of anything is not healthy.
Right.
Too much. If someone drinks way too much water, that's also not healthy. Then they're
Right.
overhydrating themselves and they're diluting the electrolytes in the system. So,
Right.
with too much of even water could be too much.
Right. Which is, again, I love your moderate approach. It's really, to me, what I think is the right way. And the details will vary with different people. I just want to ask you one more thing because I really
Sure.
appreciate your time. Um, what How would you help someone talk to a family member, or is it ever something they could even do, about having a healthier diet or losing weight? It's a
Has
really hard question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, rephrase that again for me. I'm sorry.
How would you approach, like, say someone's listening to this and they're
Right.
saying, my husband or my child, or I really want them to eat healthier. They're not choosing to, because again, if we say that we're not going to buy this health in any size,
Right.
movement. So we do have to talk about it. Maybe you have some tips about how we could broach the topic, how we could do it in a sensitive way so that they might hear us. I mean, you can't tell
Oh, it would
someone.
be different. It would be different for a child than it would be for a spouse.
Mm,
because the children also, you don't want them to have an unhealthy relationship with food. You don't want them to feel like they're being
100%.
watched and, that it's a bad thing that they're doing. They shouldn't feel guilty about it. I would say I've spoken to many mothers, especially of younger children, and they have to change the household a little bit. They have to, eat cleaner, get rid of the sugar and the processed, mostly, you have to give children, something, some kind of treats, but to get rid of a lot of the snacking and the sugary and the processed foods, to also plate the food, because I was raised that way. My mother plated our dinners, which nobody does anymore.
Nobody does that.
Nobody does it. And she raised us super healthy. My mother's a Holocaust survivor, and you would think, like, why would she was always so interested in nutrition.
Really?
Plated our food, even our salad. We always had protein and vegetables and salad. And none of us ever thought to ask for a second piece of chicken, ever. Like, you ate what was on your plate, and that was it. And then you left the kitchen and you went about your business. Like, nobody asked for more. You ate your food, and that was it. So that's like, a lot of my clients have started doing that with their kids. Like, then they'll plate for everyone. You're not going to single out just let's say the child that the heavier child. You're going to plate the food for everyone. And it's just it's teaching them portion control. Because again, if it's on platters, like in front of them on the table, so often people are taking second or thirds just because it's there in front of them,
Right.
not necessarily because they're hungry for it. And you really want the child to kind of, approach you. I mean, it depends on the age of the child. I would say a teenager, you really want to hear it from them first, and not, so you might want to involve a therapist in that, or certainly, the physician should first be consulted. In terms of a spouse, I would say, oh, I just heard this podcast, with this nutritionist, sounds like so interesting. Would you be interested, or something like that? Or maybe we should go together. I have a lot of couples that will come to me together, and it happens to be great when they have that support, when they're a team and they're on the same page. Maybe we should, try to eat a little bit healthier together. Again, not focus on the number, but more on the health.
Right, and you're also deflecting. What I love about this is in both cases, the child and the spouse, the adult, you're deflecting attention. It's not you saying it. It's not making them feel that you're telling them what to do.
Right, but
So I think
I
that's
do
really good.
find that children, like, if you teach them young to eat healthy, they're happy to do it. They, if it's there, if it's available for them, they'll eat. It's not like they won't eat the healthy food. They're happy to eat it if it's there and available for them. I always tell people, when my kids were little and I have only boys, of course I would have to put, I'd have play dates on a Shabbos afternoon. Of course I have to put out, food for them for like a Shabbos party. I always had a big bowl of cut up fruit. I always put some kind of a pretzel or chip or something like that, and some kind of a cookie or cake. The fruit always went. I'm not telling you that they didn't eat some of the other stuff, but if the fruit was cut up and ready for them, they were happy to eat it. So if it's there and available, they'll eat it.
But some children will always eat, more than others, and that,
Right.
that may be a difficult situation. But you also pointed out that you shouldn't just focus on that one child, that the whole family,
Right, the whole family
should be eating healthier. So I have to say thank you so much. You gave me so much information for everybody, and I hope people learn a lot from this to eat healthier. And thank you so much. I'm going to repeat just one more time your information. The website is alizabeer.com, alizabeer.com. It's also alizabeer@gmail.com, and the phone number is 516-984-3333. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
You too. Good night.